If you've been around the Coffin of Andy and Laylay's Reddit community recently, maybe you've seen a whole kerfuffle involving Kit9, the publisher of the game, copyright claiming the work of an artist. When copyright strikes began hitting many small YouTube content creators not long after, this made the community understandably nervous. After all, the vast majority of them were barely making any income anyways. This raised questions as to why would they even be doing this in the first place. There was a healthy YouTube community built around loving the game, and on top of this being just such bad timing considering this being right after such a high-profile copyright issue. It was all just so weird, so the community did some digging. And here's where things get interesting. As it turns out, the email listed as being responsible was legal@kit9.studio, slightly different from the official Kit9 business email, which is legal@kit9studio.com. Under further investigation, it was found that legal@kit9.studio, the one responsible for the copyright strikes, was registered on Namecheap, which is odd for anyone trying to run a business. As it turned out, it was completely fraudulent. At which point the community went to find out who was responsible. A certain name came to light, a certain individual. As it seemed possible this person was responsible for the fraudulent copyright strikes, a few community members did some asking around and some good old-fashioned investigation. And what they found was... oh boy. Let me introduce you to an individual named Furball, or Average Modder, or Goober Doober, or... he has a lot of names and a lot of alt accounts. Seems to have a habit of using cute cats as avatars. When he first joined the Coffin community at large around November 2023, he was going by the name Goober Doober and was active in the Coffin modding community. He was in a modding Discord server called the Coffin of Andy and Laylay modding server, where he was banned on December 12th. When the moderator of this server was asked, they gave a short list of Doober's actions.
Repeatedly misgendered two people, even after being corrected and told not to, and then claimed that they weren't a native speaker. Repeatedly used the R slur for both people and things. Was rude and aggressive towards several people, in one instance claiming that they were putting someone in their place, stopping only after they were told a rule violation like that could get them banned. Repeatedly posting the "you should kill yourself now" gif, including directly sending it to one of the admins. Repeatedly asked for permissions and ownership of the server, not listening to staff or changing their behavior despite being...
And it was at this point that he decided to make his own counter Discord server called the Coffin of Andy and Laylay Modding League. So, this is not exactly a great start to our story, but hey, lots of people are jerks and not complete a-holes, so I'm sure everything will be fine from here on out, right? Right? Well, around this time, someone was stealing content from a modder named Basil. Basil would upload his content to the Tcoaal modding server, and someone else would upload their content on Reddit, effectively claiming it as their own, and obviously without crediting Basil. As suspicion was already on Goober Doober for his previous garbage behavior, he was questioned and then just began blatantly bragging about it to the moderator of the Discord server he was banned from. So, just casually stealing other people's work and bragging about it. Not exactly a move of a master criminal, but I am sure it won't become a habit. No one is stupid enough for that. He ended up retiring himself from being the moderator of the server for reasons unknown. We can only speculate, but I'm sure his pleasant personality and incredible reputation had nothing to do with it.
Banned, they sent an angry message to one of the admins, laying out plans to steal the various modding tools I had made and rebrand them as their own. Due to this,
So he introduced a new person named Average Modder to take control of the server. I am sure everything's going to be completely fine for the server now that someone else is in charge. Well, this new person is just him. Yeah, that's right. He removed himself as admin to then only take over the server as a different account. Yeah, bud, I'm sure no one will catch on. So he's Average Modder now. The league is still pretty small here, only around 15 members. At around this point, Lectrin joins the server. As a decently sized YouTuber, he starts to bring in a lot more people. In February 2024, Furball begins to stir up trouble with Kit9. As a result, he is told explicitly by Kit9 to stop modding for the game, which I honestly don't know how badly you would have to mess up to get an indie game developer to single you out and tell you to stop modding for them. I have no idea how that happened. Would love to know. Especially since he has never released a mod. Like, that is just so impressive in a bad way. At this point in our story, his server has just over 1,000 members, mostly due to Lectrin's advertising on his YouTube channel, causing him to become pretty prominent within the server. So, with all that background established, we can now actually start telling the story. Around February 2024, the Coffin of Ande and Lele YouTube community begins to get copy strikes for the OSTs used within them. And if you're thinking to yourself, Ditto Limited doesn't sound like Kit 9 and actually sounds kind of unprofessional. Well, you aren't the only one. And what do you know, someone we recognize was caught talking about it. Bragging about stealing again. Man, these criminal masterminds are so smart these days. So yeah, he straight up admits to stealing from people. Well, twice is not a pattern, right? Certainly not a habit. So this is how it worked. He uploaded the game's soundtrack to Spotify, claiming to be the original owner so he could receive passive income from Spotify. In other words, he pretended to be Kit 9, the game's publisher. And because he claimed that music on Spotify, that allowed him to claim it on YouTube at the same time, and then sent out a wave of copyright strikes against anyone on YouTube that used that soundtrack, stealing their ad revenue. So he was double dipping on his fraud and scamming. At least the Spotify scam failed. The company caught on before he was able to cash the money out. But he seems to have gotten away with it on YouTube. Thanks YouTube, showing everyone your copyright system is just working oh so well, with potentially thousands of dollars stolen from small content creators. I want to stress something here. He was more than happy to steal from small content creators on YouTube. Content creators like this are happy to see any amount of income from their videos. If they make $1, it can be a big deal. If they can get $50, it can feel like winning the lottery sometimes. And it can be so rewarding to people when they see their hard work paying off. Well, our little winner of a personality not only has no qualms about stealing from them, but brags about it, proud of robbing from people that can put hours and hours into their work and expect nothing to meager rewards. Nearly $6,000 by his account. I want that to sink in. Imagine what someone must be like to do that. The word scumbag comes to mind, among many others. Stealing is clearly in his blood because he does it again not long after. The modding server Average Modder was managing at the time would ask for donations. People graciously gave their money to pay for artists, voice actors, etc. The sort of contract work that modders can't do themselves. Their top donor alone gave almost $1,500, which is quite trusting since again, he and his team never released any mods. As you may have guessed, he just takes the money and does no mod development with it, scamming people out of their kind donations. Now you would think a part of him might feel some sort of guilt about this, but no. One of his donors calls him out on it, and then he threatens them. He claims that they have their card information and knows who they are, attempting to intimidate them. A real class act here. So moving on to the beginning of March, Lectrin would then take over as the owner of the server, banning Average Modder on account of the many horrible things he did. Such things as scamming people, false copyright strikes, being a general knob, and even grooming, which we'll get into later. Then at this point, Average Modder gets back on his Goober Doober account that still had owner permissions, and then banned Lectrin. Okay, sure, I guess no one checked that. Average Modder then returns with a different account, now named Furball. For proof that these are in fact the same person, well, just take a look at this. Lectrin himself saying he's working with Average Modder again, which we know is co-hosting with Furball, as well as Furball showing the fact that he is Goober Doober. He really does have a habit of telling on himself. Okay, so from Goober Doober to Average Modder to now Furball. This guy really is comfortable making new accounts, I guess. Somehow he and Lectrin resolve their differences, despite the horrible things he has done that Lectrin is fully aware of, and they start working together again, creating a brand new server called Tcoaal Asylum. And this is the one they are using to this day. It is pretty much exactly like their previous server.
The Reddit account also posted what could be interpreted as disdain towards trans people on a detransition-centric subreddit, posting a Columbine meme in the largest...
Oh, let's take a quick look at his server. Oh, look at what name he has banned. It's almost like you're trying to distance yourself from your past. It is now we get to the point we started at, the second rash of copyright strikes against small content creators, now in mid-2024, around the beginning of July. A lot of YouTubers came onto Reddit asking about it. Keep in mind, these are very small content creators, some with only a few thousand views on videos, usually only a handful of subscribers for most of them. Questions rose if this could be Average Modder again. Well, going by Furball now. We'll just refer to them as Furball from here on out. A Reddit post brought up Furball again as a possible suspect, created by a former friend of his called Urvan. This Reddit post was deleted by Reddit for privacy violations, which is kind of ridiculous because it only showed Discord screenshots with no private information. But at the very least, it attracted a lot of attention to the situation. As a result of that deleted post, one of the content creators who had been struck, Tcoaal, reached out to Lectern asking if this was Furball again. Lectern responds in an extremely dismissive manner, completely ignoring the accusations and even talking about his wife and family. Alright, man. When the content creator reached out to Furball, they acted in a highly unprofessional and inappropriate manner. Making it particularly worse, this person was a minor. And again, they were dodging the question. And if you just need a little more proof that Furball and Average Modder are the same person, man, if he was smarter, he would at least deny it. He's really good at telling on himself. So that was it though. There was all the evidence there was. While he admitted the first 2 times, there wasn't much more than speculation, other than him just acting super dodgy. There was no way he would tell on himself again, right? Trail had gone cold. He definitely wouldn't say something where anyone could listen to him, linking him to the fraudulent copyright strikes. He couldn't possibly be that dumb. He would be smarter than that. He would have learned his lesson.
Bro, this guy bro, he stole like 10 sprites and way more than that.
Bro, we can just strike him if we want. We can just do that again.
Points for consistency, I guess. Yep, you would think he would learn. This audio was taken from a recorded call from Furball's server. Furball and Lectern, and many others, were spying on the main Tcoaal Discord server, one that both Furball and Lectern were banned from. This was about the time that the Reddit post calling him out was uploaded. They were using an alt account to allow everyone in their server to see the main Tcoaal server. So they were observing to get the general sense of the fallout of the copyright strikes. But someone else was listening on their little spying session.
Ironic.
In this audio that has both Furball and Lectern, they're talking about striking a YouTuber again, one that was apparently giving them trouble. This YouTuber had only been copyright struck around July 2024. What this means is that the creator was not struck the first time in February, the one that Furball admitted to, but only in July. What this means is that the copyright strikes in July, this supposed legal at kit9.studio, was actually Furball and Associates. Okay, if you're still a bit confused, it breaks down like this. Here's the YouTuber that they were talking about, and here's the copyright strike of the email that YouTuber received. Then, Furball threatened to strike them again. Linking all these pieces together, this means that Furball is admitting to striking this YouTuber, meaning that legal at kit9.studio is in fact Furball pretending to be Kit9. What a stellar individual! Again, stealing thousands of dollars from small content creators. I just want to add something here. Just as we are recording the script, we learned that Furball changed his old Average Modder account to this guy's name. You might recognize them from this comment in the beginning of the video. As far as we can tell, he's trying to put his misdeeds on someone else to deflect blame and possibly trying to get them harassed because of it. Such a wonderful human being. And all just because Furball doesn't like him because he's one of the few people that was calling him out. Well, since this isn't depressing enough, let's move on to just other great behavior from our intrepid hero. On June 5th, a popular Tcoaal artist named Tcoaal, and apologies if I get that name wrong, on Twitter had a copyright dispute with Kit9. The artist distributed unofficial merch products featuring characters from the Coffin of Ande and Lele, which prompted their initial copyright claim by Kit9 Studio, the game's publisher. Upon receiving this email, the artist deleted all tweets about the merch and stated they would not be making any more, only distributing at a local booth what had already been made. Kit9 Studio in response stated that this was the artist expressing intentions to continue to exploit our IPR for their own financial benefit using off-platform sites. Kit9 would then begin to copyright strike Watassi's work, including non-commercial fan art. Now, in our opinion, both sides acted poorly, with Tcoaal not following a legal copyright and Kit9 acting so heavily-handed. Better communication between both parties would have probably made this a much more simple situation instead of the hellstorm we got. Luckily, these copyright strikes have now stopped, mostly due to outside interference from Twitter. Although this whole incident really put Kit9 in a bad light and had many criticizing them for their overbearing copyright enforcement. One of these people would be Furball. But wait, I hear you ask, did he not also abuse copyright strikes for even less of a reason? Well, yeah. Furball would then make a video in which he would detail a lot of specific information about Kit9 and Nemle. Stuff that was clearly not meant to be known to the public, such as information from when she was doxxed in the past. It also included the full legal name of Kit9, where their office was located. He concluded the video by confirming Nemle's full legal name in the comments, as well as posting, "Hi Kit9, feel free to DMCA this. I'm not afraid and I know where you live, tee-hee." Just such a strange comment to begin with, and made worse by the fact that he is actively copyright striking YouTubers. This was not the only place he was revealing this private information. There was a Reddit account that was discovered called FoobDoob420. Kind of seeing a pattern with these alt account names. This account would reply to posts just revealing information about Nemle for no good reason, such as her name and where she went to school. He then later leaked Watassi's seemingly real face on Twitter for no good bloody reason, the artist he was just offending. It really shows his video against Kit9 was mostly out of pettiness rather than any genuine care. It really shows how superficial and self-centered Furball is. He's very much okay with false mass copyright striking for personal gain, and he clearly has no care for Tcoaal as he feigns in this video. For all the talk of fighting back against Kit9 in defense of artists, he has no qualms about screwing them over himself if it benefits him. So being a general horrible human being to others, taking credit for other people's work, stealing possibly tens of thousands of dollars from people, doxing people, and being a complete hypocrite. There's no way this guy could be worse, I hear you ask. Then you look down at the time bar and you realize, wait, this video isn't over yet. There can't be anything more, right? What more could this person have done? Oh, right, you mentioned grooming before. Now before we get into it, I want to show you this video real quick. This is Furball making the claim that he was part of a Telegram group that would groom kids and encourage them to cut stuff into their bodies, and just listen for yourself.
Oh, I know this. Bro, I used to be in a Telegram group where they would groom kids and make them cut shit into their fucking files, or they'll leak their nudes online.
We know nothing about this, and we can't confirm anything. If anyone has any information on this, we would love to know. It's so horrible to imagine such a thing existing. But at the moment, this is only an accusation. But considering it's Furball himself saying it, well, come to your own conclusion. Now this is going to be a very long string of Discord messages from many sources all around February and March of this year. Things might get a bit confusing. All names have been censored but color-coded. Each color is a different person, except white, which means we don't know who they are. Who each of these people are isn't extremely important, so don't focus on too much who is who. What is important is that if the name is not censored, it is Furball/AverageModder, sometimes using various alt accounts, with the exception of BoneGuard, who allowed us to show his name, which is pretty brave since Furball has a history of threatening people and attempting to dox them. In fact, Furball is running an intimidation campaign against BoneGuard right now as we record this. Okay, now getting to the thing that I've been dreading talking about this entire script. Enter Pink, a person in which Furball has set his eyes on. I want to make it clear that Pink is 16, and Furball is 18 by his own account. That age difference alone is super questionable regardless of any legality. It even gets worse when, in order to get her, Furball convinces someone else that they would be a certain word that YouTube won't appreciate me saying, and would be a criminal if this other person of the same age pursued her. This is person green for reference. Then he admits to someone that he forged an ID in order to keep people off his back. Well, that's definitely not completely dodgy. Let's take a moment just to look at this lovely comment made by our old pal, Mr. Average Modder. Yeah, this is a statement you should never say in your life. Oh, by the way, the person he's talking about here isn't even Pink. This is a completely different girl that he was dating before he met Pink. This is who we're calling Purple, a 15-year-old. Yeah, it's kinda clear he seems to have a type. Something to keep in mind. Furball is under Romanian law, which has an age of consent of 16. And even if it was legal, which is highly questionable in Pink's case and straight up incorrect for Purple, that doesn't stop it from being grooming. Grooming is not about age. It's about targeting vulnerable people. It is just simply easier to identify and call out when someone is a minor. Okay, we said grooming, and grooming is a major accusation and should never be taken lightly. So we're going to make the best case we can for what we have. Grooming is about manipulation and luring someone. Once the victim is within the grasp of the groomer, it is then about taking away their free will and agency, seeing them as nothing more than an object to use. Then the groomer hopes to have them completely complacent and reliant on them so that they can control them and make them do whatever the groomer desires. It is despicable and horrific. Keep all of what I just said in mind as we go through this. I want to bring your attention to a couple conversations between Furball and one of his close friends, who we're calling Dark Blue. This starts right at the beginning of the quote-unquote relationship of Pink and Furball. Pay attention here. What is going on is that Furball is setting up a little scheme with his buddy. The plan is for Dark Blue to subtly drop a hint in the public server of something that makes it seem like Furball cares for Pink. Dark Blue will then send Pink fabricated messages making it seem that Furball is being shy but cares about her, but doesn't want her to know that. Makes him seem approachable and friendly. He himself saying that he was manipulating her. Keep in mind, this is right after he moved an obstacle getting between him and Pink. Not long after this conversation, Furball brags to Dark Blue about getting Pink, congratulating Dark Blue for being such a good wingman for taking part in the manipulation. Just pay attention to all the wording in this. He doesn't see her as a person, clearly not as an equal in a relationship. Pay attention to this particular phrase, breaking a record. This tells us this is just a game to Furball. It also tells us that this is an activity he does often enough where there are established records. Remember when I said that the hope of the groomer was to take away the victim's free will and agency? This is that. Literally using the word training, trying to get her compliant for him. And it's exactly for the reasons you would expect from a groomer, with all the dehumanizing language as well. And just look how he talks about her when he learns her real name. It's all just so slimy and manipulative. And here are some other comments Average Modder has made about Pink. Like, just, what the hell, man? I have no idea what this second statement even means in context. Despite the fact that Furball was attempting to visit Pink in the summer of 2024, never actually met up. Let's be extremely grateful for that. But why would you even say something like this? So at some point, Pink must have started to realize what was happening. All we have on whatever happened are these images we got from Boneguard, who is a former friend of Furball who cut ties as soon as he found out what he was doing to Pink. These images were kindly translated for us, and you can see the translation on the right with the original on the left. We are guessing that she must have called him out or pushed back against him or something like that. He went to his now former friend Boneguard in a panic. Seemingly, Pink threatened to call the police on him. It's interesting how the next day he was completely calm, since Person Red didn't have enough information, I guess, to tell the police, which tells us, well, that he was afraid of the police for some reason. No idea what that might be, but might be indicating something. You can tell just how terrified he was, and then just the shift the next day of being completely calm. but then he still deleted that account to cover his tracks. After this, Pink attempted to cut ties with Average Modder, aka Furball, at which point he constantly harassed her and threatened her, which went on for months, maybe even longer. He told her that he had cut himself in order to guilt-trip her into staying quiet, even though he never did any such thing. This is a tactic he also tried with Boneguard earlier to get sympathy from him. He also tried convincing her that he knew where she lived, and implicitly threatened her with violence. He also tried doxing close friends of hers with their actual real addresses. And then he also just directly threatened her life, using her real name for extra intimidation and manipulation, while having given her a fake name for himself in the first place. This behavior is beyond unacceptable. It is manipulative and vile. No person should ever treat any other person like this. Average Modder or Furball or whatever your name is, if you have any humanity in you at all, you should be ashamed of yourself. Now, I know you're probably just going to try to strike this video one way or another, and to be honest, that'll probably work. I just hope this video gets enough attention before that happens. You are a liar, a thief, a manipulator, an abuser, a groomer, and a con artist, stealing and manipulating others for your own gain and amusement. Is this the kind of person you want to be? Though I'm sure you will just create some new account with an uncreative name and a cute cat picture and just start all again. Must be second nature for you at this point. You really should start taking responsibility for your actions and strive to be a better person. So do what's best for you and leave this video alone and reflect on who you want to be. And to friends of his, in particular Lectrin, you should feel ashamed for supporting an individual like this. Now, there's a lot of things you could have done yourself, but the fact you actively cooperate with someone you know is like this says enough. Maybe take a good hard look at yourself and ask the question of, is this who you want to be? And is this who you want to spend your time with? But most importantly, stay away from all the people you've harassed, threatened, and harmed. Furball even allegedly has a hate list of people he wants to target, and at the top of that list is tcoaall, the creator of a Tcoaal crossover mod for Friday Night Funkin'. Furball and his friends have been filing false DMC takedowns and harassing him on every single platform he posts on, including YouTube, TikTok, Reddit, Game Banana, and GameJolt. They've obtained Crystal's IP and has repeatedly called Crystal slurs and harassed him. Here's a video of what happened when Furball invited Crystal to his server to talk. Keep in mind, he's 15. It's alleged that both Furball and Lectrin plan to harass him until he ends himself. Again, while that part's only an allegation, Furball and Lectrin's treatment of Crystal clearly shows they only want the worst for him. So we reached out to a bunch of people that have dealt with Furball personally. Many of them did not wish to give any statement and preferred to stay completely out of the situation for fear of retaliation from Furball. Absolutely understandable given his track record. However, a few individuals have decided to share what they went through. We'll just let them speak for themselves and you can come to your own conclusions. We're going to start with a statement from Crystal, the YouTuber Furball has been constantly harassing non-stop. He had a lot to say, but we asked him to shorten it down just a little bit for this video.
Greetings. I am Tcoaal, or more commonly known as Ashdrew, or the Coffin of Andy and Layle's #1 fan under usernames. Recently, I fell victim to harassment from Furball and Lectrin under both of their usernames, to the point where one of Lectrin's server members had grabbed my IP and is currently holding it within his grasp as means to try to keep me quiet, or a way to try and silence me, as he has done with the Coffin of Andy and Lele videos or my Funkin' with Andy and Lele videos. trying to silence any means of revealing evidence proving they were responsible for the false copyright strikes that took down a lot of my work. Projects I'd worked months on were ruined because of Furball and Lectrin. Lectrin in particular had something against me for a long time, ever since I had told him back in the Coffin of Andy and Lele modding league on Discord that I had decided to make a Friday Night Funkin' mod you probably know as Funkin' with Andy and Lele. The problems between me and Lectrin edge back to a long time ago when I was trying to state that Lectrin had something against me, and one of the Coffin of Andy and Lele's modding league ex-moderators actually agreed with me and what I was saying. As for Furball, Furball had taken everything from me under the fake email that is legal at kit9.studio. Of course, when asked to try and restore my channels, they decided to change the subject entirely, talking about bullshit related to their lives and changing the subject entirely. Every time I tried to re-upload my content to YouTube, I would have people harass me with Packwatch comments, and then a day or two later, my videos would be ripped down from YouTube entirely due to the fake email created by Furball.
There was actually a lot of stuff that Modder or Will did. There was a couple claims, though I haven't been able to confirm them, that he was a script kiddie, that he was basically just copying script and putting it in. Even though everything was very poorly managed. The scripts were all over the place, and on top of that, the type of people that he kept in his community were there was a lot of racist people, and there was a lot of a lot of trolls, and it was kind of like their whole culture, I guess. And he was like, "Is he 14? I don't give a fuck. The fuck." He's like, "It's legal in Romania." That was his thing, because he was Romanian. Now, I don't know how much is true and how much isn't true. This is all things I've heard on accountability of him. I've personally seen his ID, so I know that he's over the age of 18 unless he had a fake ID. Though he has mentioned in the past that he does know how to fake IDs. So that is something that is also a concern. So we didn't really know if we were working for a minor or an adult. So it was just, oof.
And finally, we reached out to Pink, and we asked her for a statement.
Well, I'd say he seemed nice at first, but turned out to be an extremely weird guy who had a scheme planned for any male friend I'd come close to. He almost made one of my friends quit social media because he gaslighted him into thinking he was a pedophile, which is ridiculous because they're practically the same age, 1 year difference. He always made sure that my friends would be taken care of eventually, isolating me in order to keep me all to himself. He just wanted to manipulate me and use me around out of boredom. His schemes of finding out things about me and eventually taking control over my life left me in a pretty vulnerable position. And I didn't know what to do. Not to mention the awful gaslighting, guilt tripping, and threats. Almost made me believe I accidentally had messed up his credit card, pretended to hurt himself even though he did not, and threatened me and my friends various times, including doxing. Eventually I got help and he deleted his Discord, but is now on YouTube as if nothing ever happened without a single consequence. And apparently there were more girls who were victims, but I can't confirm that for sure.
If there is one word with which I can describe Will/AverageModder/Furball, it is hubris. And the one thing that I hope that happens to him is justice.
Due to time constraints, this video alone could not contain the full story of Furball. But we did the best we could to tell what we thought was the most important. And what we covered so far should be more than enough to give an impression of the kind of person Furball is, and that he should be stayed away from. We may make a second video at some point going a little more into his harassment and bullying of others. We have more than enough material for it. as well as some other people that were friends with Furball, and a lot more on Lectern and all of his garbage actions. And of course, if there's any new information that comes to light, we'll make videos on that. But for the moment, we feel this is a pretty good summary of events. We would also like to thank everyone who has helped us make this investigation possible. Former friends and acquaintances of Furball who had to deal with his horrific actions. They helped provide a vast majority of these screenshots, videos, audio recordings, and so on. They've all been such kind, funny, considerate people, trying to expose this horrible guy for all the awful things he's done to them and others. Before we leave, I just want to say that this channel will only be used for this video or any updates to it, and it will never be monetized, though it's unlikely to get enough traction for that to be worry in the first place. So don't worry about subscribing or liking or anything like that. We just want to get this knowledge out there to the Coffin of Andy and Lele community. There'll be a link to a Google Doc in the description of all the images we used in this video, along with a short summary of the events. And if you would, try spreading the word by sharing either the document, the video, or just the screenshots. We really appreciate it. And feel free to download the video. We'll have a copy of it in the Google Drive folder, and you can download the YouTube video itself if you know how to do it. If you want, you can even upload it to your own channel. Feel free. Though I know a certain person would probably try to copyright strike it if he found out. Please, just make sure it gets to whoever in the community might benefit from it. And to anyone that stumbled across this video with no knowledge of the Coffin and Andy and Lele community, I'm so sorry this is your introduction. I promise it's filled with lots of good-natured people, even if they do tend to be on the weird side. But if you can accept the weirdness, it's such a good place to be. But with any community, they're bad apples, and they need to be called out, which is the purpose of this video. So much damage done from one person and a few collaborators. It's such a shame it came down to this. Anyway, that's it. Thank you for listening. Keep your guard up, stay safe out there, and take care.